It's these concrete walls which make Helsinki the most demanding stop on the championship tour. There's absolutely no margin for error, and any driver who makes even the slightest mistake will probably find afterwards that his car is a bit of a mess. Well, one man who can tell us exactly how tough it is the Finnish driver racing on home soil, JJ Leito.
The walls are very unforgiving, you know. I lost the car a little bit yesterday and I got a little bit damage on the back end. We had to fix it. And here overtaking is very difficult because there's only really one line which is clean, and all the guys are trying to keep the same line. So it's to go off the line and try to overtake somebody, get a lot of dirt on the tires, and it takes 1.5, 2 laps to get the tires clean again. That's the biggest problem.
Well, here in Helsinki, it's not quite as glamorous as Monaco, but it's just as demanding for the drivers, and GT qualifying on this tight track has certainly been entertaining. Pipped at the post by McLaren in the last round, Mercedes were determined to qualify well, and they were occupying the front row when, late in the final session, Boldrini's Lotus blew its engine and put down a lot of oil. Not content with that, it then went merrily on fire. So Steve Soper reckoned that he and local hero JJ Leito would have to start behind the Mercedes. But JJ, spurred on by the crowd, made a final effort in the McLaren BMW. He was right on the limit through the traffic, and it was good enough for pole position. The crowd were absolutely delighted. JJ, of course, is a local boy, and Steve Soper could hardly believe it. This was the best possible news if they were to maintain their championship lead. And JJ celebrated in time-honoured fashion with a couple of donuts.
He waited right to the end, and I thought he'd waited too long because I thought the Lotus had put oil on the track, but obviously not. Fantastic time. I don't know where he finds it from.
And absolutely crucial to be starting at the front here.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. We have to start at the front.
With these fans behind you, it must be a great buzz for you.
It's great to be on pole, you know. I think that everybody came to see that I can do it, and I did it, you know. So, you know, it's really nice feeling for me as well.
But Nannini's Mercedes is still alongside Leito on the front row. Row 2 is Mercedes and McLaren, and the Gulf McLarens are on row 3. There's Andrew Gilbert-Scott getting ready. And with 3 McLarens and 2 Mercedes in front of him on this tight circuit, Andrew knows he's got some work to do.
Not where we wanted to be, but exactly where we expected to be starting. And obviously, I think that we have got a good chance in the race, but we've got to try and keep our nose clean, which is not going to be easy. But I hope we're going to be there.
It's a 3-hour race with a rolling start as usual. The Penos team is giving this one a miss. Fastest GT2 car here is the Porsche of Jean-Pierre Jarier. As they come up, the lights go green, and at the front it's Leito moving away from the Mercedes of Nannini. And they have yellow flags at the first corner to ensure there's no early accident. Then the flags are green before the hairpin. Leito leads, Nannini is second. In third place, it's the other Mercedes of Alexander Wurz. Then the McLarens follow. A few disagreements about the line to take on that first hairpin from the midfield, but Leito now looking very strong. We're riding now with Boldrini's Lotus, and he leaves his braking too late, goes straight on down the escape road, trying to chase Pescatori's Porsche. That didn't do him any good at all this early in the race, but at the front, it's Leito leading. It's Nannini second. Leito's car looking so low over the bumps of this extremely rough and twisty circuit. The Mercedes chasing him, Nannini in second place. We look down on the extraordinary Docklands layout of this street circuit between its temporary concrete walls that are put up just for the race. And JJ Leito, who raced here last year in ITC, really, as the local hero, he knows this circuit in his sleep, and he's putting his local knowledge to the best possible use. He crosses the start-finish line, then the 2 Mercedes, Nannini ahead of Wurz, then it's Peter Cox in 4th place, then the 2 Gulf McLarens, Thomas Björ ahead of Andrew Gilbert-Scott, then Badeur in the Lotus, Kelleners and Pescatori in their Porsches, the GT2 Porsche of Jean-Pierre Jarier well up in the top 10, Cor Oyser in the bright yellow Marcos is down there as well. There's the Viper, driven by the local Finnish drivers Numinen and Levanen, and Leito still building this lead ahead of the 2 Mercedes. It's a long, long race, but Leito wants to build up the cushion wants to be able to settle into a rhythm on this tortuous and twisty circuit. The beautiful McLaren, powered by a V12 BMW, the V12 Mercedes in pursuit, and you can see how bumpy it is if you look at the front of the McLaren's bodywork, just kissing the tarmac as he hits the brakes and then lifting up as he accelerates hard and twists through the constant right, left, right behind the paddock area. These McLarens, designed originally by Gordon Murray, of course, purely as road cars, as the ultimate road car. They have 3 seats with the driver sitting in the middle. You can buy a road-going McLaren for about £650,000. But these are the racing versions. The Mercedes following, by contrast, purpose-built for motor racing, also with a big V12 engine. First and fourth, the McLarens. Fifth and sixth, the McLarens. Second and third, the Mercedes. And in 7th place, the little Lotus Elise-based car. That's Luca Badoer, one of the 2 Italian-entered Lotuses in this race. But the McLaren's looking very, very strong indeed, and it's significant that on this circuit with its threatening concrete walls, all the GT drivers are being somewhat more circumspect in this long race as we look down at the tortuous track, being more circumspect than were the Formula 3000 drivers in their race earlier on. And the leader's already up with the back markers. That's the Morgan, Charlie Morgan, grandson of the founder of the Morgan Company, already about to be lapped by JJ Leto. The V8 Rover-based Morgan lapped about 18 seconds a lap slower than the McLarens in qualifying, but of course a Morgan's a lot cheaper than a McLaren. And you can see the McLaren coming up now, blasts past the Morgan and goes on its way, and the back markers are going to be quite a problem in this race because the circuit is narrow. As you heard JJ Leto saying earlier, if you get offline you can get into trouble. The Mercedes pit watching Alexander Wurz, who's coming up now to lap the slowing McLaren of Thomas Becheur. The Mercedes weaving as Wurz gets the power down, and Becheur getting the blue flag, but he doesn't seem to be in much of a hurry to get out of the way of the Mercedes, and I think Wurz is getting a little bit impatient. Now he's going down the inside of Thomas Becheur. Oh, and Becheur shuts the door, and they collide. The Mercedes is at the barrier. The Mercedes is off, and Becheur has spun, and Alexander Wurz's Mercedes is buried in the barrier. We've got the safety car out, and that was a shameful incident because Becheur was being lapped. The Mercedes has come in, the bodywork is badly damaged. It looks as though perhaps it may only be bodywork that is damaged, but that's going to delay Alexander Wurz's car. We're riding in a replay with Thomas Becheur. His mirrors are full of the Mercedes, and as he turns in, there's a collision there. The McLaren spins backwards, and through the windscreen you see the Mercedes buried in the barriers as Thomas Becheur tries to find a gear and tries to find a gap in the traffic to get back into the race. Now, Andrew Gilbert-Scott's come in for a refueling stop. Gilbert-Scott gets out of that centre seat. In gets Pierre-Henri Raffanel. And this is Baldrini making up time in the Lotus after his earlier indiscretion. But let's hear in the pits from Andrew Gilbert-Scott.
I got up to the position I wanted to, overtook Thomas, and but then the car was really quite a handful to drive. I looked after the tyres, but it just wasn't working the way it should have been.
Well, the Badoer Schiatarelli Lotus, there it is now in 4th place, just in front of the Kellerner's Ortelli GT1 Porsche. No works Porsches here in Helsinki, but this Kellerner's Ortelli car pushing hard with the little Lotus headlights on just in front of them, and a GT2 Porsche following on. Another Porsche battle just behind, and that's the Nannini Mercedes. It's slowed right down. It's chugging through the slower corners. It's dropped down to 3rd place. It doesn't seem to have any revs in the slower parts of the course. I wonder if there's a gearbox problem with that car. And the 4th place battle between Badoer and Kellerner's is catching it up. And all that means the FIA BMW entered McLarens are now 1st and 2nd. JJ Leto still leading, of course. Peter Cox is now in 2nd place. The Mercedes is 3rd. It seems to be going all right down the straights, but it's terribly slow through the corners. It's still holding on to 3rd place, but the Lotus in 4th and the Porsche in 5th are right up there with it now. Luca Badoa stalking his prey with this nimble little Lotus, and he goes by. The Badoa Lotus squeezes past. We've now got a Lotus in third place for the first time in the FIA GT Championship, and the Kellerner's Ortelli Porsche goes by as well. The Mercedes pushed down now to fifth place, and I would think we can expect a pit stop for Alessandro Nannini pretty soon. He's not going to be at all happy with that in that beautifully prepared, thundering great Mercedes. We've got a GT2 Porsche stopping. That's Marco Spinelli slowing to a smoky halt. The Morgan is about to be lapped once again. JJ Leto hasn't made a stop yet, so it looks as though he is on a single stop. Oh, and a spin. That's the other Italian Lotus. That's Mauro Martini, who has spun, and he manages to get going again as the rest of the traffic goes through. Charlie Morgan, meanwhile, going very slowly in the Morgan, creeping back towards the pits, trying to keep out of everybody's way. And in the pits is the Mercedes, with indeed the gearbox being worked on now. Tremendous amount of traffic in clumps around the circuit. There's Pierre-Henri Raffanel trying to get through the back markers as JJ Leto comes up in the number 8 McLaren, the leading car, ready to lap all of them. That's the Kellerner's Ortelli Porsche. He's now in fourth place behind the Lotus, and there are blue flags for the leader, who is coming up behind. Ortelli about to be lapped now by the leader in this very smooth looking GT1 Porsche. Just a little bit of the lines of the Porsche 911, but that is a dedicated racing car, of course, as Leto comes up to gobble up the leading car. That's somebody's wing mirror. A wing mirror has been lost against a concrete wall. I don't know whose that is, as Mauro Baldi goes through in the 8th placed Conrad Porsche. I can't see any wreckage from anybody, so where that wing mirror came from, we'll probably never know. We look down at the hairpin as the two leading McLarens in first and second place lap one of the GT2 911s and the Mauro Martini Lotus. So we can now see that the two McLarens, first and second, are running very close together. JJ Leto's lead has been dragged down to really only a few hundred yards by the flying Peter Cox, the Dutchman, headlights ablaze as he works his way through these back markers. There's JJ Leto in the lead, there is Peter Cox in second place, and we've got a real battle for the lead on between the two FIA BMW McLaren teammates, and one wonders if there are any team orders here. There is Roberto Ravaglia waiting for his car. We're about to get a driver change for both the leaders. JJ Leto laps yet another Porsche, as Peter Cox, you could see that central driving position in the McLaren, closes up. He too sneaks past that Porsche under braking for the hairpin, and the co-drivers, Roberto Ravaglia for the second placed car, Steve Soper for the leading car, are both down here in front of me in the pits waiting to take over, and a real battle on for the lead between these two. It's a 3-hour race, remember, as we approach the halfway point. There's absolutely nothing to choose between these two leading McLarens. They have walked away from all of the rest of the race, but we've got a real battle for the lead here. Look at how hard JJ Leto is trying, locking up his wheels as ever closer gets Peter Cox. Remember, the Dutchman and Roberto Ravaglia won the very wet race in Silverstone a couple of weeks ago, so it's championship points at stake here. Leto and Soper leading the championship, and there's Soper ready. He's all togged up, ready to get into the leading car. Roberto Ravaglia ready as well. Who is going to stop first? Steve Soper holding his seat there, and Charlie Lamb talking to the BMW mechanics, and it's Leto. Leto into the pits now. They get the door open, the fuel hose goes on. Leto rolls out of the cockpit instantly. Steve Soper slides into that awkward central seat, and Leto will probably help him with his seat belts, because it's very difficult to strap yourself into these cars on your own. They're cleaning the windscreen now, the seconds are ticking away, and of course Peter Cox in the sister car has now gone ahead into the lead, but we wonder for how long, because it too will need to stop for fuel and a tyre change any moment, and away goes Steve Soper. Both the FIA McLaren BMWs have had their pit stops, but their battle is still joined at the front of the race. And Britain's Steve Soper leads here in Helsinki. Roberto Ravaglia in the Peter Cox car is in second place. Third now is the little Lotus of Schiattarella and Luca Badoa. Fourth the GT1 Porsche of Ralph Kellerner's, now driven by Stefan Ortelli, and fifth, the Gulf McLaren of Pierre-Henri Raffanel and Andrew Gilbert-Scott. Both the Mercedes are still running. They've done a gearbox change on the Nannini car, and the Wurz-Schneider car is storming up after its earlier delays. But Dave Beckett's in the pits with JJ Leto.
What are the team orders? Will they try to get in front if they get close enough?
Well, we are leading the championship, so we should be in front.
There's JJ Leto's helmet, no mercy from him, and Dave's now with Peter Cox.
No, the best man wins, and I hope it's us today.
So it doesn't sound as though there are any team orders. Remember that Soper and Leto may lead the championship from Cox and Ravaglia, but they've each won one race so far. So this is looking like a battle to the finish, and Ravaglia right on Soper's tail. Oh, and there's a 911 spinning right in front of Harold Becker in the core Oyser Marcos. Didn't see if he got a little nudge from the Marcos. Now Raffanel down the inside of Schiattarella's Lotus. Well, in fact, it's the outside, because the next corner is a left-hander, and Schiattarella says, no, you don't, and Raffanel is shut out. Raffanel tries to attack once more. The next corner's a right-hander. Still, Schiattarella holds the big McLaren off, so Raffanel is in a Lotus sandwich, Schiattarella in front of him, and Mauro Martini and the other Italian-entered Lotus right behind. And these Lotuses really seem to work well on the tight Helsinki circuit. Raffanel working his way through. Still, the two FIA cars, the two FIA BMW-entered McLarens are running pretty close at the front. They've just lapped John Nielsen's McLaren, and they're now getting into a lot of back markers. Look at this traffic. Porsches everywhere you look, and Soper boxed in behind the 8th place Pierluigi Martini GT1 Porsche. That's the red one. They're passing a Marcos, but the two McLarens are now absolutely nose to tail. This is the battle for the lead here at Helsinki, right in among the traffic. Mauro Baldi heading the queue in his GT1 Porsche, but the red GT1 Porsche, the Pierluigi Martini car, is definitely holding up the two McLarens, and I think now that Roberto Ravaglia is going to try and see if he can elbow his way to the front. The blue flags are waving. That means you've got a faster car behind you, as if they didn't know. There's Mauro Baldi at the front of the queue, several GT2 Porsches. The red GT1 Porsche is Pierluigi Martini, and still the McLarens are stuck in there. Still the McLarens are stuck in there. John Nielsen, a lap down, has a grandstand view in the orange and blue Gulf McLaren, and now Pierluigi Martini doesn't want to let the McLaren behind in front of him, because he's trying to get through the traffic in front of him. This is classic endurance racing, where there is often a big speed differential between the different cars in the different classes, and when you're lapping slower cars, particularly on a circuit as tight as this, it can become a real problem, particularly if you're battling for the lead, because Soper now has Ravaglia almost alongside him as they try to elbow their way past these slower cars in front. Now they've got alongside, and shut inside is Soper, and Ravaglia's gone by. Ravaglia used the traffic absolutely perfectly there, boxed in Steve Soper, and we've had a change of lead. It's now Roberto Ravaglia who's taken the lead from Steve Soper. Steve Soper pushed down to second place. We see it again. Soper is on the left of the road. The Porsche shuts him out. That allows Ravaglia to get alongside, slightly on the inside of that curve, and as the blue flags wave, we've got a new leader. Now, this is the Mercedes of Bernd Schneider, elbowing a Marcos into the wall as he makes his way up. Oh, and off goes one of the Lotuses. One of the Lotuses and the Raffanel McLaren are stationary at the hairpin. That is the Badoa Lotus. Luca Badoa gets out of the car. Raffanel's car is also stationary as the rest of the field squeeze by. And now Raffanel finds reverse gear, and Raffanel rejoins as Badoa, absolutely furious, can only stand and watch. Luca Badoa out. And here's a replay with Badoa down the inside. Raffanel shuts the door, pushes him into the wall. The McLaren spins round. The Mercedes on the outside of Bernd Schneider cannot avoid the Lotus, which comes into the right of him. The Mercedes gets away with it, but the Lotus is well and truly mangled. And in fact, the marshals here in Helsinki are trying to manhandle that car out of the way. The under tray is adrift underneath it, as well as the front bodywork adrift. There, the under trays now come off. They're removing, I think, the front bodywork, and that is one very sorry sight. That was the fourth-place battle. And it's interesting that Bernd Schneider saw it starting to happen and went right over to the left of the road to try to keep out of the way. But even so, he still couldn't avoid the Lotus, which came all awry into his right-hand side. So poor Bernd Schneider's had a couple more collisions since that car came out of the pits. He's still, nevertheless, going very, very hard. The car, surprisingly, doesn't look particularly damaged. He's up to 9th place now. He's set the fastest lap of the race, and he is still charging in that wonderful-looking V12 CLK Mercedes, hanging the tail out of it as he puts 600 horsepower down onto the tarmac, working his way through the traffic. Delayed just for a little moment there by one of the ever-present GT2 Porsches, but this is Bernd Schneider really on a charge, trying to move the Mercedes back up the order in a race which looks as though it is going to be McLaren dominated once again. These new Mercedes still haven't scored a victory in the FIA GT Championship. There is the leader's pit board, plus 7.8, it says. So Ravaglia has a 7.8 seconds cushion on Soper. That's Peter Cox saying his prayers, but that's Charlie Lamb looking rather worried. Charlie Lamb running across the pit lane, and it's slowing. That is the Roberto Ravaglia McLaren suddenly slowing, and back into the lead now goes Steve Soper. Steve Soper retakes the lead, and the Roberto Ravaglia McLaren is in trouble. It's creeping towards the pit lane now. Some sort of mechanical problem by the look of things. It comes down into the pit lane. Peter Cox's prayers are all in vain, and Steve Soper is back in the lead. Now, Ravaglia has been able to bring that car in under its own steam, at least. The BMW McLaren mechanics are all ready. Now, in goes the airline for the air jacks. Up off the ground goes the car on its inbuilt jacks. They take the engine cover off. They're obviously going to work on that car and see how bad the problem is, see if they can get it back into the race. But meanwhile, Steve Soper now has a huge lead over the new second-placed car, the Kallener's Ortelli GT1 Porsche. What news of the Ravaglia car? Let's hear from Charlie Lamb.
There is a problem with the transmission of the car of Peter Cox and Roberto Ravaglia. First, I'm very sad for them because they drove a fantastic race. And, well, it's very sad to have such a problem so short from the end.
So a very disappointed Charlie Lamb. Look, he's going over to commiserate with Peter Cox, Ravaglia's co-driver. And of course, they must be concerned. Will that transmission problem also strike on the car that is in the lead? Oh, and that's a spin for the GT2 Porsche number 55. That's the Rice Rosler Uraz Porsche spinning. It hit the wall, in fact, and that's another near miss for one of the Mercedes. That was the Ludwig Nannini car with its new gearbox. It's now down in 16th place, but the Porsche is making its battered way to the pits. And here is Stefano Ortelli in the second-placed car. That's this GT1 Porsche, super-looking machine. And if Ortelli can get that car that he's shared with Ralph Kallener's to the flag, then this is going to be Porsche's best finish in the FIA Championship this year. So, in second place, the Porsche, and here is the leader. This is Steve Soper's final lap. Steve Soper bringing the beautifully turned out white and checkered red and blue FIA BMW powered McLaren on its way on its final lap round the tortuous tarmac of the Helsinki docklands towards the checkered flag, which is waiting after 3 hours of very, very hard racing indeed. That's the Finnish Marcos, which has finally parked. And there's JJ Leto, the car that he took into the lead for the first half of this race. He's watched Steve Soper battle for that lead with Roberto Ravaglia, re-inherit it once Ravaglia's car ran into transmission trouble. And now JJ Leto, the local hero, The victory which he has been helped to get by that very consistent and experienced English driver, Steve Soper, is now within sight. And there the checkered flag is ready, the mechanics run across, and there the checkered flag waves, and Steve Soper takes the win. JJ Leto cheers him home. It's a win in Helsinki for JJ Leto and Steve Soper in the McLaren BMW from the German Schnitzer FIA team.
JJ, fantastic result for you.
Very good, you know. We were a little bit worried, you know. Unfortunately, it was our other car which didn't finish the race, and they were leading the race, and they were doing a good job as well. But, you know, I mean, we were really looking forward, you know, to get the win here, and we got the 10 points, and now we're leading the championship very well, so I'm very, very happy about it.
How much does it mean to you to win in front of your home fans?
Well, it was very important because they came to see us to win, and, you know, we did it, so I think that everything went well.
Excellent, JJ. Well done.
Thank you.
And the Rook Racing Porsche team greets Stefan Ortelli, second place for him overall. It's been a good day for Rook Racing because they've won the GT2 class. That's Claudia Hurtgen, one of the drivers of the Rook Racing GT2 Porsche that won that class. But here's the crowd's favourite, JJ Leto on his way to the podium to meet up with Steve Soper. Third is the Nielsen-Bashir McLaren despite this incident.
Thomas Bashir obviously had a little coming together with the Mercedes, which dropped him right down the order. John Nielsen got in, I think he was 17th at the time, and had a storming drive back up onto the podium in third place. The other car, pretty soon after the start of the race, obviously had a handling problem. We can only imagine, although we haven't found out the exact details yet, that something probably is broken in the car.
The race was hard, and I am looking forward to a more conventional circuit, although, you know, we'll see. We've got to get the car sorted out, and I'm sure we've obviously got a problem, maybe a broken differential, so we'll get the car sorted out and try and look for a good result.
Sometimes you need a little bit of luck as well. Well done, huh? Thank you.
So to our championship leaders, JJ Leto and Steve Soper.
JJ did a great job in the first stint. And obviously home brings a bit more speed from him because he was so flipping fast in the first hour and a half that he sort of gave me an easy time, but then he really was just making the thing last and making the thing last on the fuel. And I was a little bit concerned when the other car passed me. I got bogged down with some slow cars and had a few problems then, but I was still prepared to have a fight back at the end, so I don't know what would have happened.
Compared to when we've seen you before, Steve, you seem pretty tired. It's a demanding circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard work. It's more, you know, it's not out of breath. It's just muscle hard work. But it's fun. It's always fun when you win.
Well done. Well done. So another victory for the Schnitzer BMW team. Team boss Charlie Lamb, delighted, of course. And good to see Porsche making progress now. Second place for them. But disappointment again for Andrew Gilbert-Scott. Fourth place. He must wonder what he's got to do to get on that podium. With 3 races gone, this is the drivers' table, and you have to search hard for anything other than McLaren's. Mercedes stars Bernd Schneider and Alex Wurz are down in 5th with 6 points. And here's confirmation of the GT2 result. The Rook Porsche winning, and with Justin Bell and the Vipers sitting this one out, Hurtgen, Eichmann and Amorin take the lead in the drivers' table. So that's it from Helsinki, another entertaining weekend's racing. 3 wins out of 3 now for the Works BMW team, but no luck once more for Mercedes. Perhaps their fortunes can change when you join us again in 2 weeks' time at the Nürburgring in Germany.